Hey, what's up, guys? Want to do a video, kind of an update or a follow-up on RMRs and my experience with them so far. I've been carrying one daily now for, it's been close to 2 years that I've switched over to RMR carrying on a daily basis. I messed with it for a few months before that, kind of getting proficient with it. And I wanted to kind of tell you guys what I found so far on the different models. I don't have any Type 2s. These are all going to be Type 1 RMRs. I got some adjustables and some non-adjustables here that I've ran over time and show you some of the findings I've had with them. My pretty much go-to carry gun that for some reason I can just shoot better than the rest. It's just kind of weird. I don't know what it is. It's just a Gen 4 Glock. I cut the grooves off the front and I just did my own stipple job of it. Looks ugly as all get out. And then I just did a really shallow undercut on the trigger guard. And this is a cut slide. This was done at a local firearm shop not too far, about 30 miles away, that closed down. And they did the actual cut job or sent it out to somebody who did a cut job, a machine shop they were tied in with or whatever. But they did a really great job. It like actually kind of snap fitted in. It's got the little bosses that it in the front or whatever, so it's cut right so it'll hold the optic. It's cut in front of the rear sight. And this gun, for some reason, I could just shoot it. I could pick it up and shoot it better than any other 19 I have. I don't know what it is. There's nothing special about it. I put a 17 trigger in it where it's the non-groove trigger, but there's nothing aftermarket inside of it. It's all factory Glock stuff. And I shoot it well. I don't know, like I said, what the secret voodoo is on it or whatever, but man, I can just pick it up and shoot better with this any other gun I got. Anyways, how I carry it is TLR7. I played with them for a while. I still don't like the activation button. How it is like I said, there's just not a lot of feel to it, but it works. I mean, I've kind of worked around it. I've got used to the engagement on and off, holding it, letting it off, whatever. So I can run it now. I just would prefer. I do like the TLR1 kind of flip levers a whole lot better, but it's usable and it's definitely a lot smaller profile and it makes it a lot more comfortable in daily carry, especially in this Tier 1 Axis Slim holster. I've been carrying for quite a while now. You can see clips are all beat up and stuff because I never take this thing off. I'll be working around cars and I'll be out back shooting rifles and stuff laying in the dirt. I'll get a bunch of dirt in my RMR and stuff like that. I'll come back and blow it out. It's fine. The one that's on this is a RMO7, and like I said, Type 1 with a anti-flicker plate. I think it's a Battleworks or something like that. Anti-flicker plate. It's just the one with the raised cone that put pressure on the battery. Put that from the start on all of them and never had any issues with them. I torque them down 15 foot-pounds, put just a small dab of Loctite kind of around the screws, and I kind of wipe what I can off with my hand and just whatever kind of goes into the threads itself. I keep it real light because they obviously do have to come off, change the batteries on them. So this gun, like I said, has seen more rounds and more carry than anything else here. So I do have more rounds to this. And with the RMR, oh man, I can't tell you how many rounds I've had with the RMR on it. But you can see it got refinished when the slide got cut, Cerakote, and it's beat up from being shot and holstered and rounds coming out. I did put an Apex extractor in this, kind of just as a preventative thing, because this was the first 4th gen I got, and I was getting kind of some of that blast in the face type setup or whatever, so I did change the ejector and that extractor at the same time. Something between the two fixed it. You don't really get it back, coming straight back. It ejects now to the right-hand side pretty consistently. But like I said, great gun. RMR-wise, Glocks are probably the hardest to learn. If I hand this to somebody, and I've done it before at the range and stuff, buddies, and people want to shoot it, I'll say, you're going to pull it up and you're not going to see the dot. And you're going to have to kick your hand down to see the dot. And it's 95% of the time I'd say that's where the dot is. It's high. Because grip angle, before I put an RMR on a Glock, it was just something cool to argue about on the internet, about different grip angles and Glock having their own. But with an RMR, it is a real thing, because if you do it correctly, if you shoot an RMR right, you're not looking at the gun. Generally with a iron sight gun, you're coming out of the holster, You know, you're finding the rear sight, you're finding the front sight, you're seeing your threat, and you're back to the front sight. So you've had those three focal planes, you know, rear, front, and target, threat, whatever you want to say. So it's helped you level the gun out. You know, as it comes out, you're watching the gun. You know, you see the gun level as your eyes are going across the gun to the target, back, whatever. RMR, if you do it right, you don't look at the gun. You know, your 100% focus is on your target. You know, downrange. You're looking at the target, looking at the target, looking at the target, and then the dot appears in your vision. Well, with a Glock, with that 70-degree angle or whatever they are that's different than, say, a standard 1911 grip angle that it seems so natural for everybody, and I'll show you in a minute that it's actually a real thing. If you put a gun like that out, it comes up and people can see it. Just you can hand a new shooter one and they can see the dot on presentation. So usually that's why on forums you see for sale, you usually see a lot of Glock stuff, RMR wise, Glock slides. You know, RMR's for sale because a guy put it on his MOS, didn't like it, fired 200 rounds to it, I'm selling it. Because they didn't put the time in and learn kind of what they're doing. You gotta build muscle memory, you know, coming out, and this wrist has to kind of kick this gun down, push this gun down to get it flat. Because if I come out like a normal grip, it's going to be high, I'm not going to see that dot, and I'm going to have to fish around for it. It slows you down, so everybody goes, oh man, I'm way slower with the RMR. And you are till you learn the muscle memory of it. You know, it might take you 500 rounds, it might take you 1,000 rounds. You can get by a lot of that with dry fire practice, just on presentation. You know, when I come out like that, I'm seeing the dot, you know, every time, because I've done it so many times, so many presentations. It wasn't like that at first. I had to learn that. So I understand where people are coming from when they say that. It's something that's got to be trained into you. You know, you got to train to get that grip angle completely right, you know, when you come out. So, excuse me. Other guns that I use is a Gen 5. This is a Gen 519. It's cut, and it's cut a little different. It's cut where the optic is behind the rear sight. This seems to aid new shooters into finding the dot a little better. It's still on that Glock, you know, weird grip angle, but it seems like new shooters can find that dot, you know, a little easier because they're kind of handicapped from that rear sight. They're not using the rear sight as a crutch to find the front sight to find the target back and forth like you traditionally do and what you've trained to do for however long you've been shooting. So you're kind of having to unlearn that. So it's rough. It's a process that has to be learned. It's not something you just pick up and go, oh cool, you know, this is awesome, best thing ever. It's I'm going to dedicate, you know, the time it's going to take to do this, and it's going to pay off. That's kind of how I've seen it, you know, as a shooter with RMR. This is another RMO7, which is the adjustable. Generally, when I shoot or carry these, I carry them all the way up, and then you go down 2 to 3 clicks, just depending on. So that's all the way up, which I believe is 8. I think it's 8 settings. So that's 8, 7, 6. So I'll carry usually 6 on a gun that don't have a light, and sometimes 7 with a gun that I'm carrying with a light, just so it don't wash the light. And it's too bright for some situations, but it's never too dim. And that's kind of my thing is you can deal with too bright, but too dim is hard to find, especially, you know, in a super bright scenario, or when you got like 1,000 lumen or 800 lumen light attached to your gun. You fire that thing up at night, you want to be able to see that dot above that 1,000 lumen, even if it's a wall 10 feet from you or something. So I typically go pretty high on my settings. Like I said, either a 7 or a 6, generally a 6, just depending, but somewhere in there. But that's how I run it. I don't run them on auto. One thing that just doesn't seem like it's ever covered anywhere in the brochures and stuff like that, for whatever reason, this is an auto. This is a RMO1, which is the small dot auto. So it's auto adjusting right now from the light and all that kind of stuff. But if you put this on auto, if you squeeze these two buttons together there for less than 3 seconds, it'll go into an auto mode. It'll also pick up light. But if you compare these two side by side, an auto and a adjustable in auto mode, the non-adjustable is always brighter, like one stage brighter. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because they can adjust, so that's the programming Trijicon puts in them, is to kind of err on the brighter side, I guess, where these they didn't for whatever reason. So that's what keeps me from carrying these in auto, because they're just sometimes too dim for the situation. these tend to be really good. I've had it wash if you have a really bright, like 800 lumen light, like a TLR1 HL, and you're in a dark room and you click it, and the spill isn't really lighting up the room you're in. If you're kind of in a doorway and you're shooting it down a hallway or something, then it will wash because it's not getting the backspill lighting to auto adjust on the auto adjusting models. So I have had this wash. Like I said, it's kind of a rare set of scenario or rare scenario that it takes to get it to wash, but I have had it do that. So it's possible. Like it wasn't any kind of real fire situation or something. It was just me messing around, clearing my house, playing with an empty gun. Anyways, so Gen 5, like I said, with the cut behind, I do like that cut. It does kind of protect the optic too. If you do get the oddball round that decides to come straight back, it'll hit here off the sight, hopefully not off the optic lens. I haven't had any issues with any of these other guns that are done that way. So take it for what it's worth. It's kind of more preference, I feel, at that point. But the theory is you kind of relegate these to backup irons, just like on an AR-15. It's now a backup sight. It's not the first thing you see. You see it through the window. It doesn't really take away, doesn't really grab your focus like it does on the rear. So maybe easier to learn with a front cut rear sight than a rear cut. That may be something to try if you're thinking about going to an RMR. The only thing is if you cut it like this, you're dedicated, right? Your gun's cut, especially your rear sight's up here, so you're not going to want to carry this gun without an RMR with a sight radius of probably smaller than a Glock 26. So that's, once you've decided you're dedicated to an RMR platform, that's a cool way to go. I like it, but just know you're stuck with it at that point. That's always going to be an RMR gun. Whether you sell it complete with an RMR, if you don't like it or whatever, sell the slide, but you're stuck at that point. Where the other ones you can take off. A lot of people make plates, or you can get a slide with a plate. You can buy a slide, try it out. If you don't like it, you put your factory stuff back on. But put in the time. That's, I guess, the biggest thing I can say is put in the time, put in the dry fire, put in the presentations, even from low ready, just push out. Low ready, push out. And see where your corrections are. Your corrections are, I bet you 95% of the time is going to be just that. Just enough to kick that wrist down, and you're going to see that dot. Remember where that's at. Pull back, try to repeat it. Pull back, try to repeat it. And if you can get that down, you're going to find that dot every time, and it's going to speed up. You're going to get faster and faster, and you're going to get to the same speed, give or take, as you work with irons up close, and then you're really going to benefit out far. That's a huge advantage to the RMR is 10 yards and farther, I would say. At 10 yards, I can see the target crystal clear. I can look if I'm shooting at the bullseye, or if I'm shooting at a number on the target, or whatever. I see that crystal clear. Push out, boom. No problem. I can hover that dot right over it. Over that, break the trigger, nice good squeeze, bang. And then repeat it. So, where if you're shooting
space experiment, I just got a new thing of glitter.
I'm not sure science is your thing, seeing how that chimp at the zoo tricked you out of your...
Pause too long. So if you're shooting, say, 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever, you're looking at the target, hard focus, and now you got to go back to the front sight, right? And if you're aiming at something really small, way out 15 yards, it's going to blur. I mean, the target's going to blur once you focus on the front sight, even if you're at 5 yards, really. But it really gets tough, shooting small things far away. RMR, you have a huge advantage over that. Hard focus on that thing far away, and that dot just appears over it. Squeeze and break the shot. And RMR is not a fix-all. It's going to show you every twitch and twing and jerk and everything you do with your trigger, because you're seeing that dot. You're not going to hold it still because your hands are, kind of naturally shaky anyway. And then if you see it do that as you shoot, you're jerking that trigger. Oh, this thing's not accurate, it's not accurate. Well, at least it's kind of a training aid, because you can see it. It's hard to see a front sight, dip right at the moment of trigger squeeze, kind of. But that dot lit up, you see that thing do this, it's you. You're getting a bad trigger press. So it kind of helps, correct some problems. I took some time off shooting handguns. I was shooting a lot of rifles. Went back shooting handguns, and I was having a really bad trigger jerk, just coming through and just squeezing the heck out of that trigger. And it probably took me 500 rounds to clean that up. but I could see it. I knew I was doing it because that RMR would tell me, like, I mean, it was really weird. I just got into a bad habit of that, and it took me, like I said, 500 rounds to get out of it. So, but I knew I was doing it. RMR was like, hey, dummy, this is what you're doing. So, kind of a nice training aid on that. This is something a little different. This is a HK VP9. Now, this has that standard grip angle that everybody wants to argue about, and I really didn't think was real until I started shooting RMRs, but it's real. This has that traditional 19 degree or vice versa, whatever it is, but the 1911 or like everybody but Glock uses. And if I bring this up and I can hand this to a brand new shooter and they pull up, they find the dot on this. They can see it because it's just that natural point of aim angle when they pulled out, present it, it's there. So if I had this new shooter, they have no trouble with it. It's kind of funny. They can shoot it over and over, and they love it. You know, you give it 10 to a Glock, and they're like, that's cool, but you know, I can't find the dot. Hand them this. I can't tell you how many new shooters I've handed this to, and they're like, wow, that's really cool. You know, this is fun. I can shoot this, do whatever. And it doesn't really increase their accuracy right away, but it does do that whole training. They can, if they're jerking the trigger, they can see that dot move over and see that hole end up, you know, low and left or whatever, wherever it's going. But something to consider if you do have something other than a Glock that you carry daily. VP9 makes an awesome host for this. The sights are spendy when you go to get suppressor sights. There's not a lot of options like there is Glock, so get ready to really kind of fork out for suppressor height sights as opposed to spending $60 on Marigolds. I think I spent, I don't even remember what they were, $150 or something for these Henny straight 8s. But cool deal. The grip angle is real. Just know, once you go RMR, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Like I said, I never did before either. Some more. This is a Vickers RTF2 special run they did or whatever. But this is a Lone Wolf slide that is their Alpha Wolf slide, and it looks just like a Glock slide. It's just not marked Glock. So I didn't really like the crazy designs and stuff in them, and where you get dirt and whatever. I'm more of just a standard plain Jane kind of Glock guy. So this, other than being stainless, is like factory Glock. Same serrations in the back and what have you. They're just cut for RMRs, and then I just stuck some suppressor sights, swapped all the guts out of the Vickers upper, put the barrel and the spring and all the guts in it, and this has been a cool little gun. I like a Glock Gen 3, the RTF. To me, this is one of the most perfect Glocks out there. You know, it's got I like an aggressive finish, aggressive texture, and this thing's like Velcro. You know, it really sticks to your hand. Gen 3's arguably, you know, the best running system out of all of them, which, you know, whatever, you can argue that for days on the internet, but I know it works. Gen 3's work, Gen 4's work, Gen 5's have been working for me. But cool setup. You can buy that slide for, I want to say they're about $250 or something. Maybe I'll find them a little cheaper or whatever for the Lone Wolf slides. So it's kind of an inexpensive way to get into it and not be dedicated to this platform if you decide it's not for you. And you can sell it. You can put your factory stuff back together, sell the slides, sell the optic, whatever. Get some kind of recoup your cost somehow out of it if you decide it's not for you, as opposed to cutting it and being there forever. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to call MPK Arms, who did my VP9. I'm gonna try to call them in the morning, and I finally decided I'm gonna do the M&P. I'm gonna do the conversion. I'm gonna cut it. I think they do it where they put a Glock dovetail in the rear and put the sight in the front. I don't think they have an option to put the dovetail in front of the optic there at MKP, which is fine. I'm good with it either way. But they did a really nice job on my VP9, so I'm gonna have this done. This should have the same grip angle as the VP9, you know, like a 1911. So this should be good for new shooters, you know, to hand over and have them try. Got the Apex trigger in it, so it's got a nice, you know, short trigger pull in it. It's easy to shoot well. It kind of masks some bad trigger pulls. I know I was shooting this thing for a while, trying to get over my, you know, trigger jerk thing I had going, man, and finally got over it. But this helped a little bit because, like I said, the round would go off before I'd get that whole Hulk smash in and whatever, and help bring some of my sanity back till I fixed it. So another cool option, but like I said, MP, same way. You got to have them cut. There's not a lot of options out there as far as, I haven't even seen a slide. I take that back. Someone did one. someone that did AR parts. But anyways, it was tons of money. It was like $500, but it was all cut, and stuff or whatever. So probably the best option is have them sent out, have them cut. MKP does it. Primary Arms, Primary Machine does it. Some other companies do it. They do nice work. I've seen some that were done, and they look really nice. But a cool option if you do carry an M&P and you're thinking about an RMR, you'll have a lot easier time than a Glock guy will to start out with. But like I said, once you learn it, don't be so intimidated that you don't want to try it. This is another Gen 5 done the same way with the cut in front of the optic. Don't be intimidated, guys. I've beat these optics. I beat these optics in front of people that were thinking about them. I've dropped them. I've knocked them on wood. I've knocked them on cabinets. People are kind of amazed when they see it. It'll be my EDC gun, If I go cleared or whatever, we're at the range, I'll be like, look, blam, 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 banging on wood. I've dropped it, from, probably belt height or whatever on the optic. And, it doesn't matter to me. I'd rather it break there if it was going to break than anything else. But I hadn't had one break. I haven't had one go down. Haven't had any issues with them. And I beat them. I mean, if you look way back at my channel, I got somewhere I'm beating them on this metal table at the range, shooting around, ejecting around out, shooting around, ejecting it out, by the optic, beating it down. And it held 0. I shot a 0 after it, right in that same video. So they're tough. Really, really tough optics. That's the only optics I have that I'd mount to a handgun. I don't think there's anything out there yet to match an RMR. They're worth the money if you're going to dedicate to the platform, if it's something you're thinking of. And especially if you're going to cut a slide. If you're going to cut into something and it's going to be permanent, I would say I wouldn't even buy anything else, even if I had a plate system. But especially if you're going to cut in for an RMR. The Type 2s have been out for a long time now. I haven't had a need to get one. I bought these on blowout when Cabela's was just absolutely blowing these things out, and I got them for, half price, some even less than what normal retail was at the time. So I've never seen a need to get. I got enough of them where I don't have to buy any more. And Type 2s, if I was going to buy a new one now, obviously I'd buy a Type 2. The Type 1s, you have to buy it used, I guess, at this point. But I wouldn't hesitate buying a used Type 1 or, a new in-box Type 1 from someone on a forum or something. I've had no issues with them. But Type 2s have got to be even better, So anyways, guys, that's my experience with them. I'm happy with them. It took me some time. If you're there, or if you're thinking about it, or if you're struggling with it, put the time in. Put some dry fire in. I can't stress how much dry fire helps in your presentation. And that's all you really have to get down is that final little kink if you got a Glock. Just that final twist, push down to your thumb and the wrist. Just boom, boom. Once you get that down, man, you'll love it. It's awesome. Once you can find the dot, fast, come up and on your presentation, find the dot, you're going to love that thing. And when you start shooting out, 15 yards, 20 yards, whatever, you're going to see a huge advantage. I got a 30-yard steel range here at the house, and I can shoot, 30 yards. I can hit 10 out of 10, on a, I think it's a 2/3 IPSC. It's not tiny, it's 18 by 12 or, 12 by 18. I can hit that 10 out of 10 at 30 yards. Nothing spectacular. Obviously, I'm not a bullseye shooter, but for me, that's awesome. I can hit that fairly fast too, and I can present, squeeze, break the shot, break the shot, break the shot, break the shot, and hit it 10 out of 10. So I'm definitely a lot faster with an RMR at distance like that. With an iron sight, it takes me quite a bit more, and a lot of times I'll have one where that sight looked good, it just wasn't lined up close enough for 30 yards. It's kind of hard to tell, on an iron sight when you're shooting fast, just that little bit of variance will be a miss. If you're, say, you only got 6 inches of room on either side, it doesn't take much sight to be off that target. So anyways, guys, that's my experience. If you're thinking about it, put the time in. Put the time in. If I had to say one thing about it, put the time in, and you're going to love it. All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.